Hello to all dear students. Today I, Ambika Saran, an assistant professor in Department of Commerce of DAV Centenary College, is going to discuss a business statistics topic which is very popular, which is very scoring, is sources of data collection. In this video I am going to focus mainly on the primary sources of data collection. Now let's explore these all sources. Sources of data collection can be majorly classified into two bifurcation, which is primary sources and secondary sources. These primary and secondary sources can also be further classified. If we see the secondary sources, there are of two types, that can be published sources or unpublished sources. In case of primary sources, there are 5 methods for collecting data under primary sources. What are these 5 methods? The first one, the direct personal investigation method. Second one, the indirect oral investigation method. The third one, information from the local correspondent. The fourth one, the questionnaire. And the fifth one, that is schedule. Now we are going to discuss all these sources in detail in this video. First we will talk about primary sources, then secondary sources, then we will move to these 5 major sources under primary sources only. There is two definitions in front of you. These are given by famous statisticians. The first one is Horace Secrets. He says about primary data. What he says? He says data which are gathered originally for a certain purpose is known as primary data. What he is talking about? The certain purpose, the certain objective should always be there in your research or your study. Then you are doing a primary data collection. The other definition which is given by Wessel, he says data which is originally collected in the process of investigation is known as primary data. What he is saying, if you are doing any investigation, then you must go for primary data source. After reading these two definitions, we can draw some conclusions, some meaning from this primary data, which is the data which is collected for the first time. Primary data is always collected for the first time, okay, and it is collected for a specific objective, as said by Horace Secrest. He talked about this topic point, that is collection for a specific objective, specific purpose should always be there. Also the feature of originality should be there. So we can say that primary data is always the first party data. Now we will move to the next source, which is secondary data. There is also two definitions. The first one, which is given by Blair, he said secondary data are those which are already in existence and which have been collected for some other purpose than the answering of question in hand. The next statistician, that is Wessel, he said data which is collected by the other person is called secondary data. After reading these two definitions, we can draw some conclusion, we can draw some meaning about secondary data. We can say the data which are published or unpublished sources are always under the secondary sources, and the data which always exist already is always the secondary data. Now we are going to discuss the primary sources data, the methods of collection of primary data. For collecting data under primary sources, we have different modes, we have different methods. We have total 5 methods. The first one is direct personal investigation method. The second one is indirect oral investigation method. The fourth one is information from the local correspondents. The next one is questionnaire, and the last one is schedule. Now we are going to discuss all these 5 sources in detail. The first one was direct personal investigation method. Here the data is collected personally by the investigator from the sources concerned. Here the investigator, the researcher, the study maker always personally collect the data. From whom? The informants, by meeting them face to face. Also, the information is related with the survey. If you are doing any survey, then you can go for direct personal method. Here the investigator can opt for observation method also, by observing and recording the information relevant to the study. In this method, you can meet the informant face to face, ask them question personally, or you can observe them and evaluate your answer. Also, this method is mostly used for customer preference study. If a company is making a product, it would always be interested in knowing about the customer preferences, customer needs and want. Then what it can do, it can go for direct personal investigation method to know the customer preferences. The next method, which is indirect oral investigation method. Here the informant is not approachable and the data is collected from the third party. In the previous method, that was direct personal investigation method, there were only two parties, that were investigator and the informants, and the informants were available, so you can meet them face to face and collect the data personally. But in this method, which is oral indirect oral investigation method, the informant is not available, so you have to collect the data from the third person. Also, this method is adopted by different committees and commissions of government. Also, this is opted by police authorities. Different police authorities always do investigation by method of indirect oral investigation method. The next method is information from the local correspondent. Here the local agents are appointed in different areas to collect the information, and these agents transmit the information collected to the central office. It is majorly used by the newspaper agencies and the newspaper department or the media department, who appoint different agents in different areas to collect the information, to collect the news. Then they are using the method of information from the local correspondents. The next method, which is questionnaire. As the name suggests, questionnaire, the name already has the word question, which means you have a list of questions which is related to your study or your research. Then you go for which is prepared as per the your objective of your study. The question would always be according to your objective, and you have to take care and caution while exercising or getting the desired information from the respondent. The last method is the schedule. In the case of schedule, you have a team of enumerators who contact the respondent to get the questionnaire filled. The previous method, which was questionnaire, there is no mediocre between the informants and the investigator. Informant has to analyze the questions, analyze the questionnaire, and fill the answer according to themselves. But in schedule, you have a mediocre, which is called enumerator, who contact the respondent and get the questionnaire filled in his own handwriting. Also, the objective of the inquiry is explained to the informant. When you have a mediocre between yourself, then you can ask any question, you can ask for any information. Why are you making this study? What is the objective of the study? How this data is going to be used? And the enumerator has to answer all these questions and ask the questions accordingly and get the answer filled in his own handwriting, which is asked by the enumerator and answer is provided by the informants. We have studied the total 5 method. The first method, direct personal investigation method. The next one was indirect oral investigation method. Third one was information from the local correspondent. Then it was schedule, and the last one now we have discussed is questionnaire. These 5 methods of primary data collection are very important. Now, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all have grabbed some information, have some grabs more deep knowledge about this topic. Thanks. See you in the next video.